Welcome everybody to the IC109 podcast. Legends never die. Kobe, let them know.
You're at 109 right now.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Larry Wiggs, and it is November 28th. So we've got a few more days. How many days do we have? What day? On November 29th, 30th. Okay, the 30th November ends, so December 1st is coming up on Friday. Now, folks, that means that the last month of the year is upon us, right? So with that said, with this podcast right here, with this episode, now, wait, let me correct myself. This podcast is about 109, right?
You're at 109 right now.
Yeah, dig. Welcome.
You're at 109 right now.
Ooh, you're with your boy. No, I'm not your boy. I'm your man, Larry Lair. Okay, IC109. That's the podcast. But this episode of the podcast, well, this one is all about a recap. We're going to look back on the year of 2023 and give you a wrap up, right? Specifically, we're going to look at what IC109 did this year, okay? We're not looking at all the world events, although maybe I can speak on some of the world events that took place. Yeah, I think I can. And I will. So sit back and relax, and let's look back on this year before we get into the future next year.
You're at 109 right now.
C'est toujours un plaisir d'être là avec vous. Vous écoutez la fréquence 109. Merci à vous.
Yeah, so before we get into the wrap up of 2023, I want to talk about today, the 29th of November. I recorded the intro yesterday on the 28th. Today's the 29th. I was watching some television. First off, I took the day off from work. I had this little situation and I had to work it out from home. That was the best place for me, so I had to take off the day from work. Anyhow, during the day, I had an opportunity to turn the television on, and as I was flipping through the channels, I happened upon some random TV show. It was about prison guards, I believe, prisons, and the prison guard happened to walk in front of door 110, and I knew what was coming. I thought, oh man, I'm gonna see 109. And I think they cut to another angle, and I saw room 108. It might have been cell 108. It might have been office. It might have been room. I don't know, but it was 108. These big black letters on a white wall, from 110 to 108. And I thought, oh, wow, okay, 108. Maybe I'm going to see 109. Sure enough, they cut to another angle, and there it was, just as plain as day, 109 right there. And then they cut to a couple other angles, and you could still see 109, just, plain as day right there. Boom, right in front. And so, I get excited. Oh, look, 109. I just saw it. But, my thing is, all right, I'm trying to think about what is the probability of anyone seeing 109, right? Well, anyone who watched this episode would have seen 109. Okay. Now I can't tell you the name of the show. I can't tell you what it was, what channel, what station it was on. I can't tell you any of that stuff because I don't regularly watch this show. I just happen to turn it on and watch maybe a minute or two of this episode, which makes it even more peculiar that in that minute or two that I watched the show, that I saw those numbers, you dig? 109.
You're at 109 right now.
So what I want to drive home is that it was just a bizarre, moment. Like all of these moments, these isolated incidents that I collect and I tell you about, I retell here at the IC109 podcast. So yeah, I don't usually watch the show. turned on the television. I was flipping through the channels. I watched a tennis match. I was watching a tennis match earlier. I think someone named Jodovic versus Rooney. I think that's how you spell his name or pronounce his name. Rune is how you spell it. Jodovic. I think he's Russian versus, I couldn't tell you where. He might have been from Norway. Yeah, it might have been a Norwegian flag that I saw. I believe it was a red and white flag with the cross in it. It wasn't Swiss. I know the Swiss flag very well. Switzerland's flag. No, it wasn't that one. Yeah. So anyway, I was watching the tennis match, and then I flipped through the channels, and I caught that little prison thing. Yeah, and I saw 109 there, plain as day. Yeah, like how does this happen? Oh, and the one thing I thought about later is I said, you know what? It's just a matter of being lazy. It's just a matter of being lazy. Like I asked myself, why didn't they film on the second floor? Why didn't they film on the 6th floor or the 5th floor or any other floor than the first floor? And I started thinking about it logistically. Like, well, the camera crew, the cameraman especially, is probably carrying a heavy camera with some battery packs around his waist, and climbing stairs probably isn't the most efficient, isn't the most welcomed activity with carrying all of that equipment. So being on the first floor would allow him just to easily, strap on the camera, turn it on, and start filming. So on the first floor, he can pick the camera up, put the camera down, and go from there, rather than walk all the way up to the 5th floor just to get a particular shot. No, they're just going to, or all they need to do is just stand or stay right there on that on the first floor. So it's a lazy man's approach to filming, a documentary or a docu-series or something like that. So basically, they stayed on the first floor. And as buildings and I guess architectural design goes, or architects and how they design their buildings, they design it so that the numbers are sequential. If it's on the first floor, then it's 101, 102, 103, 104, etc. So when I saw 110, I was like, here comes 109. Here it comes. And there it was. I saw it. I definitely saw it. All right. So let that just, marinate, ruminate on that. That should puzzle you. Like, the guy just turned his TV on. He's watching it for like a minute or two, and bam, there it is. And it just so happens that it's always there. But then if it's always there, then it's like Rochelle told me. She's like, don't even, focus. Don't even, think about those numbers because they are everywhere. That's what Rochelle told me. And yeah, she's kind of right. It is everywhere. So this was just another moment where there it was, and it was on the television. So, all right. This is the IC109 podcast. So I had to bring it in. I had to tell you about it just to kick things off here. It might be IC10 and 9, but I like to call it 10-9. Okay. 10-9, IC10-9. So that's just to kick it off. So let's get into the recap, the review of 2023, shall we? Let's do that. All right. Let's get into it. So shout out to the students at Dorsey High School. Shout out to y'all. In particular, the two sisters, the cousins who found each other at Dorsey High School. I was in the classroom yesterday, and they told me, hey, we just learned that we're cousins. And I was like, huh? What? Wow. Oh my goodness. Now, that was a unique experience in and of itself, but I had the exact same situation. I'm there as a substitute teacher, so the students are a little rowdier when I preside over their classes. And anyhow, one day I was in the classroom and a student asked me for my name. Asked my name. He said, "What's your last name?" I said, "Wiggs." And another student perked up when she heard that name. She said, "Wiggs? How do you spell that? Wiggs?" She was like, "Huh?" Because she started to zoom in. She was like, "Wait a minute." And then she said, "Do you know a Kevin Wiggs?" And I was like, "Does he play drums?" And then she was like, her jaw dropped. She was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" Because zooming in even more, right? Yeah, when I said the drums part, well, then it was over with. She was like, "That's one of, I think, like a great uncle or something like this." Anyhow, so she said that, and I looked at her and I was like, "Cousin." She had been in another class that I was teaching about 2 months or so before that, and I remember that class because when I saw her, she and I interacted. We talked during that class, and she was telling me that she was struggling with her physics class, and I said, "Okay, no problem." So I tried to share with her some physics, a little physics lesson, what I remember from my physics class, right? Mr. Polsky was my physics teacher in high school. Cool dude, and very, presented the physics activities and lessons in a very, relaxed manner. He was a cool teacher. Still he was a scientist, but I guess he just wasn't so rigid. He was like, "Yeah, let's talk about it, physics." Or maybe it's just that physics is a more interesting field of science than some other sciences like chemistry. And Mr. Von Dolan was like, boy, oh boy, he was strict and a disciplinarian. "Listen, class, basically shut up and listen to me. I'm not going to speak until everyone is silent." Mr. Polsky was cool. He's like, "All right, guys, settle down. Now we're going to talk about velocity." And everyone's like, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." So I think it's the subject matter, maybe. Yeah, so anyway, Mr. Polsky was cool. And I recall in his lessons learning about centripetal and centrifugal forces. And so I was trying to convey my understanding. I was trying to share my understanding with this young student several months ago. And then unbeknownst to me at the time, I'm related to her. This is my cousin. I'm presiding over in a class, and I'm trying to teach her about physics. But at that time, she wasn't having it. She was like, "Look, my brain is full. I can't." She was like, "Teacher, I can't, focus on all of this." I saw her the day after I gave her the mini physics lesson. And I asked her, "Okay, what's centripetal and what's centrifugal?" And she was like, "No, I can't. I don't remember any of that. I can't focus on." I was like, "Okay." Lo and behold, a few months later, the next semester, she hears my last name and she's like, "Huh? What? Cousin?" Yeah. So that happened this year, 2023, right? Did I mention this is the wrap up? This is the recap. This is the rewind of 2023. What happened this year? I don't think I did. I might have mentioned it in a previous segment, but I didn't mention it before I started yapping away. Let me make this clear. This is the recap. Right now, we're talking about things that happened in 2023. All right. And to that end, shout out to the Dorsey High School students, but also shout out to Kiara. If I'm not mistaken, that's my cousin's name. I mean, I could have made a mistake. Kiara. It's Kiara. That's what I remember. Air. To pronounce her name. Kiara. Now, if that's not her name, then shame on me. But, I mean, it's such a large campus. You don't always see the same students every day. I certainly don't. I'm a substitute, so I'll be in one classroom one day and then another classroom the next day, and I might go a month without having the same students in my classroom. That's happened. Yeah, that literally has happened. But I try to have fun with the students. I try to make education fun, because it's called edutainment. That is the most effective and most retainable, I guess, when they're engaged in the lesson. To that end, let me just share one little anecdote, one little story. The students were talking, in the usual parlance of the day these days, and you hear nigga. You hear it. They're saying it. Nigga, calling each other it. And that word is just so it's so full of history, connotations, denotations. That word is just packed. That word is bloody, has a bloody history, and it's not the word that we should hear, but it is the way that it is. It is what it is. Well, there is another word that sounds just like it, nigga or niggas, or it might even be pronounced negus. But I asked the students in one particular class, there was an ethnic studies class. After the students were using nigga, I said, how do you spell niggas? And one student replied, Niggas. And I said, wrong. And she was like, huh, what you talking about? I said, yeah, you're wrong. And so I asked other students, and they were like, I don't know. And then this one student said, well, I know how to spell nigger. And I was like, oh my goodness. That was a palm, a face and palm to face moment. Like, oh my gosh, no. So in that moment, I taught them Negus. Someone in the classroom, went to Google, looked up the word, and they found Negus. And I said, that's correct. That's how you spell it. And I asked them, what does that mean? Negus. And they learned something. It means King of Kings. And it's a word that is derived from Ethiopia. So that was one big lesson for them, and they were just like, huh, what? But we thought we knew something. Like, well, now you do know something, okay? So, let that be, what you are referring to when you say nigga or niggas. Let that be it, rather than anything else, anything that you thought it meant. Let it mean King of Kings. And in fact, one of the students, got the message, and he was like, oh, so I'm a king. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm talking about, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Let that be the meaning. Let that be the word that you use. Nothing else. So anyway, that happened. That was in the classroom. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about another event that occurred this year. Karen Bass became the mayor of Los Angeles. The mayor of Los Angeles. That's what happened. Karen Bass. And I attended the inauguration, and I saw her, become the very first woman mayor. Not the very first not the very first person of color, but the very first woman and the very first woman of color to become mayor. That is definitely the case. So that happened early in the year. Let's see. I was posting videos all throughout 2023, and I guess I'll have to bring up, I don't think it's honorable mention, because this particular video that I made just grabbed all of the attention, for my channel. I posted a video and it got 4.9 thousand or 4,900 views, right? That's more views than any other video that I posted this year. The video was inspired by a woman named Mary Jane Byarm. The story behind Mary Jane Byarm, or Mary Jane for short, is that Mary Jane is a world traveler. She's been to over 100 countries. I found her YouTube channel 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 years ago, and I was inspired by her example to travel the globe, especially because she's younger than I am, and just seeing someone so young and so courageous was inspiring. And so I wanted to support her. So I found her channel and I subscribed to her channel. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful, that's great. But then came these controversial stories about how Mary Jane Byarm is a scammer and how she has used her brand, her platform, to attract the attention of young girls who would like to travel like Mary Jane. And she promises to take them on trips with her. And she promises to curate a whole experience. All these young girls have to do is pay Mary Jane a lump sum in order for these young girls to join Mary Jane's journey, join the trip, at least somewhere along her journey. Mary Jane just keeps traveling, but you young ladies can join her for one trip in one city or something like this. And so the complaints, arose when after a number of girls sent money to Mary Jane, and dun dun dun, you guessed it, Mary Jane did not fulfill her promise or her obligation to her fans. She just dun 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 absconded with the money. She just took off and said, okay, thank you, and went off to the next location. And like Carmen Sandiego, you can't find her. You don't know where in the world is Mary Jane Byarm. Remember that? Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? I remember that. That's when, I was much younger and I was just playing on the computer, and that little game was pretty cool. They asked some pretty deep questions, some difficult questions though. I didn't know diddly squat because I hadn't traveled anywhere. Couldn't answer those questions. Couldn't even answer the questions about America if they asked me some questions about America. What is the Sunshine State? California? Wrong. But California, that's where all the sunshine is. No, that would be Florida. But what is California then? It's the Golden State, dummy. Something like that. Mary Jane Byarm, yeah. So a lot of young ladies, a lot of young girls sent money in. I mean, young enough, in their 20s. They, had their life savings or what have you, and they gave it to Mary Jane, and she absconded with the money. So that's awful, terribly awful. So when I caught wind of this, I thought to myself, man, that's terrible for one. But then, of course, these allegations they may have been leveled at Mary Jane, but I wasn't so keen on believing what these young ladies said. However, just like Bill Cosby's allegations, like there were so many that it was like, man, wait a minute, there has to be some truth to this. Anyhow, I took a dislike for Mary Jane. At least I was more critical of her I'm still following her, channel, because I just want to see the developments, want to see, what's going on with her. I certainly do not like her videos, like as in, pushing that like button. No, I do not like the videos. I don't support her channel in that manner, in that way. But what I did is I was watching YouTube. I came across a Mary Jane video, and the title of the video really piqued my interest. It said, "This is how I'm going to travel to every country in the globe this year." And I thought, wow, she's going to explain how she's going to do it, how she's going to travel to 190 some odd countries. She's going to finish the countries this year, 2023. She's going to do it. That's basically what the title was. And she said she was going to explain how she was going to do it. So I was excited to hear how she planned to travel to each country of the globe. Now, excuse me, mind you, she wouldn't travel to 190 some odd countries in 1 year. Rather, she's already been to like 120 or more. So she's just going to finish. She's just going to round it out, finish the country. So that could be like more than 30 countries in a year. But I've done 17 countries in a year. I traveled to 17 countries in 1 year. So I think it's doable if she has the time, and I think she's got the money. So, yeah, I saw the video. I saw the title of the video, and I said, man, I want to know how she's going to do it. So I clicked on that video, and I tell you, it was clickbait. You know what clickbait is? Clicking on a video to watch it. That's what, YouTubers are doing. They're trying to entice you to watch the video, to click it, to spend your time watching the video. And they make the thumbnail picture, and the thumbnail picture is an advertisement of what is to come in the video. And Mary Jane's title was just too deliciously appealing, for me to avoid it. I was like, "Ooh, I want to know how she's gonna do it. She's gonna explain it. Oh wow, I want to know." So I clicked on it, but it was clickbait, y'all. Because once I clicked on it and I watched the video, 17 minutes of the video or something, she never addressed this topic. She never said, "Oh, I'm planning on going to 30 countries in the course of 6 months, and I'll be doing it. I'll travel to this part of the world first, and then here, and then there, and then these countries, blah, 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 blah." There was no mention of it. And then I was like, I'm pissed, because she just scammed me out of the 17 minutes of my life, listening to her just talk about her travels. "Oh, I'm in Paris. I don't like the food in Paris. This isn't fun," And then she's talking about the makeup, the hair products that she uses. "Oh, this is great for your hair." And I'm just like, I'm not here for any of that. And so 17 minutes later, I felt gypped. I was robbed of my time, because she just sat there talking about everything other than what the video advertised itself to be about. So what did I do? Well, like many of the other fans out there who made videos about their experiences of being scammed by Mary Jane, I made my own video explaining that how Mary Jane also scammed me. I entitled it, "I Too Was Scammed by Mary Jane." I made a really interesting thumbnail image, and the words, I think there was some blood dripping off of the words, like "I've been scammed," I made my thumbnail so intriguing and so appealing, so deliciously appealing that others wanted to click on my thumbnail and watch my video, and they did. Nearly 5,000 people clicked on my video and watched it. And that's the highlight of my YouTube year, because that video garnered more attention than any other video. I certainly had some comments from, viewers saying, "You weren't scammed. You're just as bad as Mary Jane for creating clickbait. We wanted to hear your story about being scammed. She didn't scam you. You should be ashamed of yourself." All of this, all of this, all of this, all of this. That's what they said. I mean, they have a point, but they didn't consider my perspective. I absolutely was scammed out of my time. She told, including myself, she told me she was going to talk about one thing, and it was the bait and switch. Hey, I'm going to lure you in with this, and once you get here, you're stuck. Okay, watch this. I'm going to talk about all this other kind of stuff. So I was pissed. So I made my video, and I got some attention from it. Nearly 5,000 views, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool considering I'll post some other videos and maybe get, if I'm lucky, I'll get 100 views on that video. And on that one Mary Jane video, I got nearly 5,000 views. But, well, the lesson from that is controversy sells. Controversy sells. So that's one thing to think about. All right? Yeah, just one thing to think about. That was a long story. I enjoyed telling it, though. A lot of details there. But you just, you had to know. I had to tell you. You had to know. All right, so we're going to end with Mary Jane Byarm and Byarm. B-Y-A-R-M. Mary Jane, B-Y-A-R-M. I should have probably told you that in the beginning, but, We're going to get into my travels this year. Where did I go? What did I see? What did I do? We're going to get into that in the next segment. All right. Right back at it, y'all.
You're at 109 right now.
So we're continuing with the recap, the rewind of 2023. I've touched on Dorsey High School, the inauguration of Karen Bass, as well as Mary Jane Byarm videos. And we're going to move into next my travels, all right, for 2023. Okay. All right, so let's get into this. In 2023, I traveled during the summer. I made a lovely video, by the way, a lovely YouTube video which explains all of my travels. That's available. Let me check out YouTube as we're speaking, so I can give you that information. Oh, and by the way, these videos, not these videos, I'm doing too much. I'm cross-referencing, misreferencing, or misreferring to things when I speak. I'm thinking too. Oh, you heard that? All right. That's one of the videos. Immediately as I went to my YouTube page, that video started playing. So that's where that audio came from. Let's see. I'm doing too many things. I have too many things on my mind at one time. Let's see. Subscribers. I've gone up to 544 subscribers. Thank you, Jesus. Man, this is awesome. The channel is growing. I'm excited every time I see one person has subscribed to the channel. Like, yes, very cool. I've lost the train of thought. I've lost what I was going to say. Something about these YouTube videos. Oh, okay. What you're listening to now is let's see, is an episode of the podcast. The theme is the same, but it wasn't recorded. I'm not recording all of this in one sit down. Okay, I started recording 2 days ago on November 28th. I did the intro on the 28th. I came back to record the segment that you just listened to on the 29th, a day later, and now it is after midnight on the 30th. November 30th. So now this is the third day of recording. But for you, the listener, it just sounds like me talking. I'm continuing to talk. No, it's been 3 days over which I've been talking. Um why has it been that way? Just sitting here talking, to the microphone alone um for as long as 23 minutes at a time. Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. And it's just like, what am I going to talk about next? Um So with the preparation for this particular podcast, I went into a lot. I wrote notes as far as what I wanted to cover, what I wanted to recap or rewind or wrap up for 2023. A lot of things have happened, and so I'm just basically taking my time. I'm sipping on this episode of the podcast like some fine wine, if you can dig that. And I'm here. Okay, here we go. So I mentioned the YouTube video that I created, that I made, um, about my summer vacation for 2023. So because I referenced it, if you want to find it, if you want to watch it, of course it's at the IC109 YouTube page,
You're at 109 right now.
where if you type in IC109 or ISEE 109, and then you search Central and Latin American Summer Vacation 2023. You will be led to that particular video. It says I made that video 3 months ago and it has 72 views. So let's get those views up. If you're listening to this, go and check out that video. And then you can have a visual um, rendering, a visual for what I'm talking about. All right. But anyhow, let's get into it. So my travels in 2023 included my summer vacation 2023. I didn't do anything else, didn't travel anywhere else, right? But during summer vacation 2023. That's because I'm working as a substitute teacher. I've been doing that working at Dorsey High School, and we got 2 months of vacation in the summer. And over those 2 months, I decided to travel. I said, I'm not staying in Los Angeles for 2 months. Like, no, are you kidding? You give me time off, I'm going to take advantage of it and do my thing. So my thing includes, traveling to countries I've never been to. And in the summer, I traveled to two new countries. All right. Now, I traveled to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Now, of course, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, so it's not really another country, but then again, it is another country. I think it's always been another country. I guess it was annexed by the U.S. sometimes in the 1800s, maybe the 1900s. Um, it's a part of the United States. It's not a state, it's a territory of the United States. So, um, I went to Puerto Rico and then I went to Ecuador. All right. In between Ecuador and Puerto Rico, I stopped in Colombia. I had a layover there for a few hours, a couple hours maybe. And then maybe just an hour. Yeah, a couple of hours, I think. And then from there, okay, so Puerto Rico was first. I'm not gonna recap all of this, or maybe I should, because what's interesting about the trip is that how I did this. So for starters, let me recap it. Let me give you the details, the deets. My cousin Carlos and I traveled together. And for Carlos, I believe this was the first time traveling internationally. Um, in order to get him to go with me, I paid for his flight there to Puerto Rico. So I used some of the points that I had to get him a free ticket, basically, or a very cheap ticket. He might have paid like $40 for his ticket to Puerto Rico. And let's see. So we flew from LAX together to Minnesota. We flew to Minnesota first. My first time landing in Minnesota at the airport. That was an interesting experience. We got to Minnesota, and from there, we went to where the heck did we go from Minnesota? Yeah, we had a layover about an hour or so in Minnesota, and then we flew to Puerto Rico. And then after Puerto Rico, we stayed there together for a week. Carlos had a week. I had 2 weeks. So Carlos and I were there together. And then after the week with Carlos, yeah, we shared the accommodations. We were saving some money. We got around the island. We rented a car, which we didn't. I didn't think that we were going to rent the car. We rented the car, made the reservation, but then the night before getting the car, I thought that we had to put like $1,000 deposit on the car rental because I read the fine print and it said, you need $1,000 deposit. You need at least $1,000 on a credit card, you know. And I was like, damn, I don't have a credit card with $1,000 limit or more. I don't have that anymore. I asked Carlos if he had it, and he was like, nope, I don't have that. I was like, damn, we're not going to be able to get the car. Lucky for us, that did not deter us because I certainly wanted to, or I told Carlos, I said, I don't know if we're gonna get the car. And so the next morning, when it was time for us to go to the airport to the car rental place, Carlos was still in bed, and he was like, "I thought you said we're not getting the car." So he was like, "I'm staying in bed." I said, "Nah, man, let's get up, let's go try to get the car. We'll let them tell us that we can't get it. We're not going to disqualify ourselves by not showing up. Come on." So he said, "All right, damn it." So we hopped up and we went to the airport. There was a little bit of a rigmarole because I had to find the rental place where we went. Okay, the car rental wasn't one of the name brand rentals. It wasn't Enterprise. It wasn't Hertz. It wasn't Budget. No, it was something else. And their office wasn't at the airport specifically. It was off campus, as it were. So we had to go over to their location. Took a little what is it? A shuttle. They have regular shuttles that come around to pick up their customers and take them off campus to their location. It was a little bit of a little, it was a hiccup. It was just like, oh, one thing after the other, you know. But once we got to the location, everything went smoothly, and it was only about $250 of a deposit that we had to put down, which I had. We had to pay a little bit more because they were telling us something about the rental being, well, I forgot what they explained, but we had to pay a little bit more up front, and then it was 250 down. But once we paid that, Carlos and I went half on that payment, on the extra payment, and then I just put the 200 or so on my card. Then they handed us the keys, and we were with wheels. We had wheels to roll around Puerto Rico, and that was on the third day of our stay. That's how we planned it out. We planned it so that the first 2 days we would see the island on foot, and then by the third day we would have already gotten our bearings as far as what Puerto Rico is about. So much so that we can now test out driving the country, and it worked out perfectly. So we got in the car, got behind the wheel. We hit the beaches. We went to Aguadilla. We went to Ponce, and we made the most of it. And then did we have the car? I think we had the car for 3 days. So we had 3 days there, and then we had the car for 3 days. And then yeah, Carlos was ready to go. Yeah, right. So the last day, Carlos's departure was on the same day as the day that we had to return the car. So there were basically 6 days. 3 days we were there, and then 3 days with the car. Or maybe it was, it was actually 2 days on foot. And then the third day that we were there, we had the car. And then we had the car 3 days thereafter, right? And on one of those days, we went to the El Junque forest. Now, the problem with going to El Junque was I purchased tickets for what the hell did I purchase the ticket for? The visitor center. And I thought that was so bizarre because I wanted to see the forest. I don't want to just go to some damn visitor center. But when we got there, they told us, no, you don't have tickets to see the forest. You have tickets only for the visitor center. And I'm like, who the fuck will buy tickets for just a visitor center? This is ridiculous. We want to see the forest. And so they were like, well, you can't do that today. Next time, buy the tickets to the forest and you can see it. So Carlos and I weren't able to see it, see the forest. So that sucked. Um, and if being with Carlos was an excellent experience. And being with Carlos was, made the trip more comfortable, and we were seeing Puerto Rico for the first time together, and it was all good. But we didn't do some of the things. Okay, because I had another week there, I had more time, to explore Puerto Rico. So when Carlos left, we had had a great time. We had eaten some good food. We had swam at beautiful beaches, and we had traveled the whole country, the whole island. But then, after Carlos left, I met this dude named Cortez, who had flew in. He had flown in from Miami. Now Cortez is a little bit younger and he's a partier. So Cortez was like, I need to see all the parties. I need to go to all the clubs. I need to see how live Puerto Rico is. You coming with me, Larry? Come on, let's go. So I was like, yeah, I guess so, man. Because Carlos and I would have enjoyed these clubs, these clubbing adventures, but I didn't know anything about these clubs. I wasn't interested in searching which club to go to. I'm not like I don't want to go to those those four walls where the loud music is, and there are like hundreds of people in there, and they're selling alcohol. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to go into these spots. I'm trying to see nature. I'm trying to enjoy Puerto Rico. That's why we were out in the car, driving the country, seeing the beaches, stopping at the beaches and swimming, doing the outdoorsy thing. But when Cortez showed up, then he was like, I'm going about these clubs, man. So I was like, all right, well, I'll tag along with you, Cortez, because by the time Cortez showed up, I already knew the island pretty well. I had driven the island. Cortez didn't know the island, but he had rented the car and he just needed a sort of a wingman, a travel buddy. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm cool. So Cortez and I follow Cortez's lead. So Cortez is like, there's a club over here. Let's go to it. There's another bar over here. Let's go to it. We're going to check this out. So I was just like, his wingman, his road dog. So we were just rolling around from place to place. And I wasn't so interested in, getting drunk and, all that wild stuff. No. But, I might have a beer here, move on to the next location, but Cortez was the one wilding. He was out there having a ball, buying drinks and whatever. So that was Puerto Rico. And with Cortez, I went to you name the places and we went there. We saw it, you know. The wildest thing that we did is we went to a strip club that was located across the street from Walmart. Now, when I was with Carlos and I had gone to the Walmart to get all the essentials that we needed, from food to even some beers. We would just go to Walmart to get right while on our stay. We had no idea. We didn't see that the strip club was across the street from. I mean, actually, we didn't even notice it because it was during the daytime when we would visit Walmart. So the strip club, the doors would open at night, so it looked like a warehouse during the day. And during the night, well, the doors open and you still wouldn't know what was going on behind there unless you ventured inside. And with Cortez, that's what I did. Ventured inside. So we got to see a strip club in Puerto Rico. Yep. So Puerto Rico was wild. The 2 weeks I spent in Puerto Rico, I saw a lot. I did a lot. Puerto Rico was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I would definitely go back. However, the one thing that happened that scared me about Puerto Rico, well, actually there were a couple of things that scared me. From meeting a gangster on the last night, and the gangster, showing us that he was packing a gun, to telling us that, sometimes people come around those corners, um, and shoot up the places. Like, man, that wasn't cool. Hearing that, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going back to my room. I'm going to sleep. This is the last night. I'm not trying to get shot. All of that happened. But that was that. I was afraid after talking to the gangster. You know, Cortez and I were talking to the gangster. Cortez, however, was interested. Like, ooh, wow, that's interesting, man. Yo, what kind of car do you drive? Oh yeah, I like those cars. And they're just talking about, like muscle cars, and they were talking about, guns, and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm not interested in any of that conversation. I'm gonna go back to my room and forget that I even heard or saw that you're carrying a gun. I'm gonna be respectful as possible. Yes, sir. Okay, you have a nice night. I'm tired. Good. Shake your hand, and I'm out of here. Cortez, good luck. Yeah. So that kind of scared me. But then the other thing was, when I got back to the room, the Airbnb, our accommodation. Um, I was making my videos talking about the accommodation, and I was pretty positive about, hey, this is a great place to stay. Look at this. This is nice. It's inexpensive, it's minimalist, but it's quaint, it's comfortable, yada yada yada. I was saying all of these glorious or glowing. I had these glowing remarks to say about our accommodation, and while I was saying these things, unbeknownst to me, right behind me on the curtain of the window, there was this giant spider, a giant spider in Puerto Rico, which had probably the wingspan, the width, about 6 inches in width. It's huge. It's a huge spider. Um, I have video footage of this. The video is on IC109, of course.
You're at 109 right now.
It's at my on my YouTube site, and if you type in like Puerto Rico world's giant spider, or I type in IC109 world's giant spider Puerto Rico or something, you'll see the video. And then what's interesting is, in the video, I didn't plan this, y'all. Didn't plan this at all, but the spider makes an appearance at 11 minutes and 9 seconds.
You're at 109 right now.
109 is in that. 11 minutes and 9 seconds. That's the timestamp of the video where the spider is visible. I didn't plan that. It just happened that way. Now, think about that. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I had no idea that the spider was behind me on the curtain. And I'm just talking, oh, this place is nice. I love it. It's really nice. It's clean. I would recommend it for any other. And there's this giant spider behind me, like sort of hidden it between the curtains. So much so it was hidden. It seemed, inconspicuous. As I was watching the video, I looked back there and I thought, did they stitch the curtain? Because it looked as if the curtain had been drawn together and stitched, like to repair the curtain. Um, until the spider moved, and then I knew, oh no, the curtain hadn't been stitched. That is a live creature crawling on the curtain. Yeah, so that was just bizarre, scary. That was the second thing that scared me about Puerto Rico. That spider, huge spider, and I didn't know that it was there. It was probably sleeping next to me in the bed. Sometimes that is the scariest thought, But and I didn't even know that the spider was there until weeks later, when Okay, here's the thing. I made so many videos during my travels that I had a whole pipeline of videos just waiting to be released, which was a beautiful thing because for like 2 months after my travels, after leaving or rather after returning from my travels, I still had videos that were being released from weeks adventures prior. That was beautiful. So the 1 week that the video with the spider in it was released, I had been out of Puerto Rico for maybe a month. And I looked at the video and I was like, oh my gosh. I was doing all that talking, and right behind me was this giant spider. And had I known that the giant spider was there when I was recording this or recording that video, I'd have been like, oh hell no, this place is not it's not clean, it's not quaint, it's not comfortable. There's spiders, giant spiders in here. No, don't come to Puerto Rico. Don't stay here. This is terrible. The whole narrative, the whole story the whole impression of the place would have changed. I was talking about the mosquitoes. There were some mosquitoes when Carlos and I stayed at that place. Man, if I had talked about the spiders, it would have been a wrap. Like, nope, don't come to Puerto Rico. If you come to Puerto Rico, make sure you stay in a proper hotel. Oh my gosh, that's clean daily. Oh man, telling you. So that's what happened in Puerto Rico. After Puerto Rico, yeah, I had the layover in Colombia and I flew to Ecuador. And the Ecuador was beautiful because Ecuador gave me little 109 kisses.
You're at 109 right now.
Because I didn't plan any of this, y'all. But I pulled up and I was like, I'm going to record a video. So I pulled up to this corner. I set the camera up and I started talking. Unbeknownst to me again, a bus passes by while I'm filming. The video camera was moving, it was recording, and the bus that passes right behind me is bus 109
You're at 109 right now.
or bus 109. And it wasn't until the bus was down the street that I happened to, look up and see those numbers. And I said to myself, and even in the video, I said, hey, wait a minute. That was bus 109. It just passed by. That was on camera. I was filming. So unbeknownst to me at the time, bus 109 was just like right there. It's completely visible, which is amazing. All of this stuff is so amazing. It's like how these things, unfold the way that they do. It's like I didn't plan this. But then it goes back. It goes back to what Rochelle said. Like, yeah, 109 is everywhere. So 109 is everywhere. But if 109 is everywhere, then why is it that on subsequent days, when I walked back to that corner and tried to film another video, and I waited for bus 109 to pass, it never passed. It never passed me by. 109 or 109. It wasn't there. So when I wasn't looking for it, I found it. And when I did look for it, I didn't find it. So there's that. And that was in Ecuador. So Ecuador was really something special, really something special. One thing that happened after I got back from Ecuador and after I returned from my travels in Ecuador, one of the presidential candidates had been assassinated right there in the capital, Quito. All of that went down. I was out of the country by then, back in LA, but still, it was like that was big news for Quito, Ecuador. And I had been there in the city, not at the location where the man was shot, but I was in the same city. Like, wow. So yeah, Ecuador. Then after Ecuador, I flew to Panama, where I stayed in Bocas del Toro with my cousin. That's also in the video, of course. We went snorkeling and out, it was just like a beach. I mean, it was the proper summer vacation. We were just hitting beach after beach after beach. No beaches in Ecuador. No beaches in Ecuador. I didn't go to the water. You could go to the coast from Ecuador, but we didn't do that. And then there was after Panama and Bocas del Toro, then it was Costa Rica. I didn't go to the beaches, didn't go to the water in Costa Rica. I had done that in 2018. Yeah, it was 2018 when I went to Costa Rica for the first time. Yes, I got to the beaches at that time, but this time, 2023, when I returned to Costa Rica, no, there was no beach. The biggest adventure for me in Costa Rica was visiting, I guess, going downtown to San Jose, San Jose, Costa Rica, going to the local museums downtown because I didn't do that in 2018. And then the other big adventure for Costa Rica was going up to the Starbucks farm in Costa Rica. So that was the other thing. So those were the adventures for summer vacation 2023. I'll come back and we'll talk about some other things, King Pleasure and Basquiat. We'll come back and talk about that. Let's get into it, y'all. Let's get back into it, rather.
You're at 109 right now.
So when I left you, I had recorded this. Wow, it's been a week. Now I'm picking up the recording from December 9th, about 8:36 in the evening at night. And when I left off, I said that we were going to talk about King Pleasure, Jean-Michel Basquiat's exhibit, which I am going to do. Just want to give you some idea, what's going on. We're continuing with the recap. And yeah, it's just a new day now. We're further along. And I haven't been recording. And I felt it kind of tedious to even record this. I'm thinking about my past year, and I'm like, did I talk about everything? What, how do I keep all of this rather organized? So I had to listen to the last few seconds of the previous segment so that I don't repeat myself. Luckily, I mentioned, which direction I should go in when I left off in that last segment. So now we could just pick up and talk about King Pleasure. And that's what I'm going to do. This is a very, very near and dear and near to my heart topic. This topic is very near and dear to me because I've spent so much time researching this man's life, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and I want to kind of tell you about my journey. So it goes back to 2003. I was still in college. I had one more year. I graduated from college in 2004. And during that final year, I was coming to terms with the fact that I hadn't done well in college. My GPA was lower than my high school GPA, and I wasn't competitive. No one was checking for the guy with the C average, when he graduates. No one was like, yeah, come work at my firm. In fact, there was no one who was interested. I didn't have any inroads. I didn't have any connections, for a job in 2003. And come 2004, I was just like anybody else, just trying to find a job, just trying to find a place. But I was still full of the American dream, still of the ideals that one holds to the American dream. Like there's still, hope for me, even though I was graduating 3 years later than someone my age should have, right? You should spend 4 years in college. That's the idea. And then, so I entered college at 17 years old. I should have graduated at 21, but I was graduating at 24 years old. So it was all downhill for me because when I got out into the real world, it was sink or swim. And I just found myself sinking, like, where am I going to find a job? So luckily I did get hired at this job. and I wasn't in. It wasn't in the field that I thought I would work in. No, it wasn't the field that I tried to work in. I tried to learn about. I was studying finance, and I was like, give me into a financial analyst position. Put me in the finance department or the accounting department. Let's go. Um, I did get jobs as a temporary employee. I was temping in that capacity, but I was also just you know, doing not 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 going, not moving forward, not doing anything. So anyhow, that was rough. I say all of that to say I had a very rough like time realizing that I wasn't competitive. I couldn't put my resume out there and acquire a really high paying job or a good paying job that could, catapult me into a successful career. When that reality hit, then it was like, what else can I do? What value can I offer? Like, I've got to display my ability, my knowledge. I've got to show the world what I can do. And so at that time in my life, I just fell back on my creativity. I was like, I guess I just have to be creative. And I guess, I guess I've always loved art. And when I was a kid, my mom and dad exposed me to art, or rather, at the school where that we attended, we had art classes, and you know, we we made some artwork, my sister and my mom and dad would frame that artwork, so we would always have a record of our work. So anyway, 2003 was a rough year coming into 2004, and during 2003, I decided that I needed a creative outlet, one that would allow me to be productive, constructive, and distract me from the reality that I was going to suffer if I hit the job market, in the condition that I was in, which is unprepared to compete, and so I grabbed a few art books, probably from the local. I don't know. Oh, I must have gotten them from like a local bookstore, that were the books were on sale, discounted books, or maybe I got some books from a Ross, a TJ Maxx, or somewhere. I would shop there. I think they have books somewhere in the back of the store. You might find, you might get lucky, find a book. Anyhow, I picked up an art book. I picked up another book about Picasso. I know I have the Picasso book. I still have that. I don't know if I have the art book. Anyhow, I went to Michael's, I believe, over on is it La Brea? Yeah, it's La Brea. There was an art supply store on La Brea. See, I was well versed in art. I had seen the canvases. I had worked with canvases in the past, worked with paint brushes, worked with art, and it wasn't a big deal to me. It was like, yo, get the supplies and then get to it. Create the art. So I did. And in 2003, I made quite a lot of art. And I really surprised myself. I really surprised myself. My pride and joy um, of that time, well, I guess there were two works of art. One, I did a still life, and I swear the fruit was pretty doggone realistic. I did a fruit still life, and then I also did a reproduction of a work of art by Salvador Dali, and I used the square up method to get the dimensions right, and I executed it. And I tell you, to this day, that work of art is like, for me to have done that at that time. Oh, yeah, I was quite proud of that. Proud of myself. I was like, yeah, this is the sort of buffer or support or reinforcement that I need. This is what gives me confidence. I know I can do that. So, and without anyone telling me either, it was just a matter of, hey, just look at the work, look at the book, study it, figure out how you're going to do it, square it up, model it, put it on the paper and go paint. So I got my confidence back. I didn't know that I was just dealing with, being black in America, because a black man in America has to figure it out on his own. There is no roadmap for us. And there are very few mentors and other role models that we have access to show us the ropes. And we don't have, daddy's trust fund to, uh, forgive us, for our, mistakes. We've got to afford our own mistakes. So I believe that was the same situation that, Nipsey Hussle found himself in. But Nipsey discovered this way earlier than I did. You know, I was going on 24 years old before I realized, oh shit, I'm on my own out here and I've got to figure this out. For Jean-Michel Basquiat, I think he left home at 16 or 17, right around the time I graduated from high school and went to college. Basquiat was out on his own. Nipsey was even earlier than Basquiat. But there are plenty of parallels, between their lives. So anyway, painting was important to me in 2003 because it showed me that I was good at something. It showed me that I could do something. My college degree, the one that I was earning, no, it didn't show me it didn't reflect that I was smart, that I was doing well. It reflected the fact that I could endure, because ultimately I had a low GPA that that pushed me out of so many opportunities. I couldn't even join the what is that? The Peace Corps. They have a 2.5 GPA requirement and I had like a 2.4. And there was no arguing around that. It was like, if you don't meet that requirement, then we can't help you. The opportunity isn't for you. That's that's like a that's like a prison sentence, a death sentence. It's like you're doomed when you can't even get into something like the Peace Corps. I mean, sure, the Peace Corps is, they do want there is some competition there, but it's like, come on, man. I can't get a job. I should be able to the Peace Corps should be ready and willing to accept me. And they're like, no, thank you. Anyway, so art was my saving grace at that time. Then it was 2005 when I was still trying to use my degree to just get to make a living, in America. That was my goal, just to earn a living. And so I was doing the temporary assignments, which I mentioned before. And yeah, they were in the finance department. I figured, hey, I'll do anything if you just let me get into, the finance department. It doesn't have to be the financial analyst, doesn't have to be, all of these smart jobs. Just let me work in the department that I got my degree in. So anyway, I was frustrated in 2005, a frustrated black man in America. How rare are they, right? Yeah, right. Um and then I was working in Century City when I happened to see the advertisements for this art show, this art exhibit, Basquiat. If I'm not mistaken, it was Boom for Real. I forgot the name of it. Anyhow, it was Jean-Michel Basquiat. His name was all over the city. It was 2005. And I was like, I know some things about art, but I've never heard of this Basquiat fella. Who is this Frenchman? You know? Who is this Frenchman? Who is this man with this very French name? I've never heard of him. And I suppose I did some research into who he was and I discovered he was a black man. And then I was really taken aback, like, oh my gosh, a black man is having an exhibit in Los Angeles, and I've never heard of him. Like, I've got to learn about this guy. And then so I started learning about Basquiat, and then I went to the show. I went to the exhibit one night. Maybe it was a Friday night. I usually didn't have anything to do Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, my weekends. I didn't go to clubs, no bars, didn't have any friends to hang out with, no car clubs and all this. Um, Probably, if anything, I would take in a movie, but then there was always on Saturday nights, Saturday Night Live. So I kind of kept up with that. But what I did was, I went to the exhibit. And when I went to this exhibit, I mean, there were lots of people there. And, some people were dressed to the nines, and there were some beautiful people, some beautiful women there. And it was just like, yo, this is the place to be, man. This is dope. And then I look at his artwork, and then I'm confused. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? What is all of this stuff? What's this guy? I see some things and I see like some figures, and I'm like, oh, okay. So he drew a skull or he painted a skull. Like, okay, that's interesting. Look, look how big his artwork is. Like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then and at some point, I found, or I as I'm looking at his artwork and I'm getting into it and I'm digging it, I'm like, wow. I think what really caught my eye was the his mention of black musicians and entertainers. When I saw, Dizzy Gillespie, Muhammad Ali, John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, Grace Jones, and I saw these names and I saw that peculiar crown over their names, giving them, respect, royalty, and dignity. That's when I was like, oh, this is my dude right here. This is my dude. And I immediately there was that, I love this. I love his work. I'm digging it. There were some art, some works of art that really like I found were I needed explanation on them. Like he had the work of art, some pictures. I forgot who the pictures are of, but he's dripped his blood on the paper. And I'm like, what's up with the blood on the paper, bro? Like, so I had to read the description, and they were saying he was so committed, to his art that he even spilled his blood on the work. And so I thought, ooh, okay, so he's an intense dude, really intense. I thought, okay, that's what's up. But it was the moment when I guess I read that he was dead, or I saw his timeline and I saw that he was already dead, and I was like, no. I was like so disappointed, so saddened by the fact that all of this was there, that I was alive to witness all the greatness that he had put on canvas, right before me, and he himself was dead. I was like, man, this is some bittersweet ish right here. I can't even. And I went to they showed his movies. So they showed, a 5-minute clip or something from maybe an interview, but also Downtown 81. And they weren't showing the whole thing, but I was deeply entranced. And when I listened to the interviews with him, I saw him and I was like, man, I guess I identified with him immediately because I was like, look at this handsome dude, handsome black dude in America. Like, why does he have to be dead? Why? And so it messed me up. It messed me up. But I was also, something inside me was ignited, and it was my curiosity that was ignited. So from that day on, I remember back in the days of 2005, that's 18 years ago, I used to go to the Beverly Hills Library to study. You see, I was a student in Pomona at Cal Poly Pomona, but I hated that area. The vibe, the feeling, the like something in the air, it just didn't feel right. And I never wanted to be out there. I felt that LA was just cooler. It was just a better environment. So what I did is I would go to classes, and then I would come back to LA, and I would go to the library in I'd go to the library in Beverly Hills because that's where I wanted to be. So I would go to the Beverly Hills Library, bring my books, and I would do my homework there. Um, so after the art show, I was still, let's see, in 2005. No, I was gonna say I was still in school. That's not true. I wasn't in school. Um, in 2005, I I went to the. I guess I still felt like I was a student because even though I was, on my own, I still wasn't on my own because I was still either living at home with my mom and dad, or I was about to move out. I don't know. But 2005. No, no, no. I do know. I do know. I had two apartments in 2005. The first apartment I had was in the hood, like on 97th, 79th Street or something, 75th, something. Just I think just east, like less than a block east of the 110 freeway. Anyhow, I lived over there, but then I also lived in Culver City that year, 2005. Yeah, because I found another job, and once I found that other job in Culver City, I was like, oh hell no, I'm moving to Culver City. I'm not staying in the hood. My thing was just I wanted to be upwardly mobile, and when I didn't when that didn't happen for me, then I really had to wonder like what's going on? Like really what's happening here? Um and so and so what's the other thing? Yeah, so it's 2005, and I would go to the library in Beverly Hills, and I recall renting, or rather borrowing, the Downtown 81 DVD, because they only showed a like 5-minute little clip of it at the exhibit. So I was like, "Oh, I've got to see that. I've got to watch that in order to understand more about Basquiat." And then after that, I had to get the soundtrack. So basically, for the last 18 years, I've known of the Downtown 81 soundtrack, and I've played it from time to time. I mean, I've been a huge Basquiat fan since 2005. Even when I lived in South Korea, I moved to Korea in 2007. I bought a Jean Michel Basquiat t shirt. It had, I guess they had paid the estate for the rights to use the crown and Basquiat's, name, and it was on the front of the t-shirt. It was sold in South Korea, and I put that up on my wall as art, as inspiration, because I was like, if Basquiat can do it, I can do it too. And I want to do it in the same. I want to do it with style. I want to be stylish like Basquiat. So that's what it was. So it had a huge effect on me, and now that it's 18 years later in 2023, um, not only do I remember the first exhibit I saw with Basquiat, but also I was in Frankfurt, Germany in 2018, and they had a Basquiat exhibit going on, and it was going to end within 5 days, I believe. There was like 1 week left in the exhibition run, and I was there on a day that it was open, and I approached the doors. Those doors opened up, and I was like, yes. Well, let me tell you, like when I was walking around Frankfurt, I was trying to kill time because I had a long layover. before I was to fly I was going to transfer flights and then fly to Berlin to meet my cousins. And I'm walking around Frankfurt, lonely, lost, not knowing, what's going on. And I see the words Basquiat. And I'm like, oh no, are you serious? Is there a Basquiat exhibit in Frankfurt right now? Oh, so I'm getting all excited. That's when I approached the door. The door is open, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Serendipity, man. This is beautiful. So I had my experience right there in Frankfurt, Germany. That was wonderful. And then to come back to LA and for in 2022 the exhibit to open in New York, that was something to get me excited because for the first time it was the family. It was Jean-Michel's sisters who were curating an experience for viewers, for his fans. This was something that no one would ever get before or after. So it was the sisters saying, "This is our brother. We're going to show you something here." And before that, in Los Angeles, it was, "Hey, this is Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was an artist. Look at his work." In Frankfurt, Germany, "Oh, look at this American artist. Here's his work." But this was, "Hey, this was our brother. Come learn about our family," by the sisters. Different approach, totally. So they opened in 2022 in New York, and I was like, I've got to see it. So I watched the schedule. I closely looked at the schedule, and then I was like, you know what? Even if I have to fly to New York, I've got to see this. So I flew to New York, and I attended the New York Basquiat exhibit. And I satisfied my curiosity, satisfied my desire to learn more about Basquiat, and I was complete. And I thought that was it. I'd be good for another few years before some other big Basquiat event would happen. And then come to find out, the following year, not only on the day that Nipsey was killed, the 4th-year anniversary of Nipsey's death, but also on the same day that my favorite artist, DJ Quick, releases a single, did the Basquiat King Pleasure exhibit open in Los Angeles. So look at that. All three of these events, right? They coincided on that date. The date was 3/31/2023, March 31st, 2023. The date that Nipsey was murdered, March 31st. The date DJ Quick released his single, and the date the Basquiat opened their doors. So I was there in Los Angeles for it. Randy and I were there. Boom, for real. But that wasn't it. The sister said, we're not going to take this show on the road. Los Angeles is it. And when it's done, it's done. It's over. So I've been going back to the show as often as possible because I know this is it. This is it. So on December 12th, I'm going to get my book signed. And that's going to be, a memorable moment. So I'm preparing for that. I'm going to have gifts to bear. I'm going to have 2 gifts for Lisan and Janine Basquiat and Harivo. Lisan Basquiat and Janine Harivo, Basquiat's sisters. I have some books I've created, show my artwork, give them some love that way. I'm going to get my book signed. So it's been quite a journey, but I love it, you dig? So 2023 has been a special year for me and for this Basquiat exhibit. And I can't wait to, finish the year with some good experiences again with the Basquiat family. Because I was dancing with them like during their Halloween, like in October. That was cool. All right. So from here, we talked a little bit about Basquiat. I might continue a little bit more, but until the next segment, it is what it is.
You're at 109 right now.
Hey, Larry, this was dope. I really appreciate it. I can see all of you in it. From the DJ Click to Anwar to the stories and all of it. It was really nice. I appreciate this surprise. All right, good job, good job. I'll keep listening. Okay, bye.